Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and this is my new video on Python error handling. It's very important, and it can help us in many situations in Python when we're coding. So let's get started. So try and accept are basically just like other statements that have a block of code under it. For example, the if statement has we write if and then the condition, and then under that one indent to the right, we on the next line we put something under that if statement. So we do the same thing with try and accept. So errors can be confusing, but we can catch them and handle them. And under try, we put what actions we have to do. So if we have to, let's say, print something, let's see, try. So just like a if statement, we put try, and then when I click the next line, Visual Studio Code automatically puts one indent right to the right, correct? And so now we can put whatever we want, whatever is the normal thing that we wanted to do in the first place. So basically what we do here is that to go back, under try we put the action that we want to do. So if we want to print something or add two integers together, then we put that under try. And if that doesn't work out and Python gives us an error, then we actually tell Python, hey, wait, you don't have to give the error. We'll handle the situation ourselves. And that's where accept comes in. So let's go over where's our file. Okay. So let's do print print, and then now let's make something that's in error. Let's do like hi minus hello, or actually, yeah, hello. Now this is let's see what this is actually gonna give us without the try. Let's remove the try and see what this is gonna give us. Let's print it. Right. Okay. So unsupported operand types for blah, 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 blah. Basically what it's trying to say is you can't subtract one string from another string because it doesn't really make sense. So that's what error Python gives us. But as you know, Python errors aren't exactly beautiful, and if we want to handle it ourselves, look, the user won't want this error like this in this format. We want to give the user a more friendly, let's say we want to give them a more friendly guide that, hey, you can't subtract two strings. So let me actually put a try here, and under a try is what you're normally gonna do. And if it doesn't work out, if it does work out, then there's no need for the accept. But if it doesn't work out, just in case, we're gonna put this accept here. And what the accept does is, before Python can give an error, the accept statement lets us handle it. So we're like, print, you can't subtract like two strings. You can't subtract one string from another. Let's just say. Okay. Now let's see what it's gonna give us. See, instead of Python giving us an error, it gave we decided what's gonna happen if it doesn't give an error. Because it's sort of like an if statement that if this gives but we can't use if statements because Python errors have to be handled another way. So it's like if hi can be subtracted with hello, then that's perfect. But if it can't be, then we're gonna else print you can't subtract one string from another. And since this is dealing with Python errors, like a normal if statement is too ordinary, we need something else, which is try and accept. And we can even specify the error. As you can see, this is a type error. So we can do except type error. That way it's more specific. What if it's some error other than type error? Then we can put another except. Is it a type error? No, it isn't. Then what is it? Is it a value error, right? And you can do the same thing. Basically, you can specify what type of errors there are going to be, and there are multiple type of errors in Python. So we have that. That's that. And now let's say we want to do hi plus hello. And if you watched my previous videos, you know that strings cannot be subtracted, but they can be added together. They can be concatenated. That's the word for it. See, it just combines hi with hello, makes it hi hello, and it did not even raise an error. So this except this you can't subtract this string. It didn't get printed because an error didn't even need to be raised. So this whatever goes in the except then doesn't do anything. Okay, now let's there's one more thing I wanted to show you. It's over here. Oh yeah, under except we put the actions that should be done if the try actions give an error. So whatever the actions under try, for example, printing something or subtracting something, right? If it gives an error, then except will handle it. And excuse me. Right. Okay. Then there's one more keyword called finally, and finally keyword is a keyword that allows an action to be done whether or not we get an error. So let me show this to you. Let me give you guys an example. So if it does give us an error, you can subtract one, then it prints you can't subtract one string from another. If it doesn't, then that's fine. But either way, we still want some other action to be done. Let's say we want to just give the user a goodbye. Okay, we want to tell the user that I'll see you next time, or give some friendly goodbye to the user, whether or not there's an error. So that way we can do print see you next time. Let's see, that sounds friendly. And now if we run it, then it's like hi hello, see you next time. And if we put the subtract here, which will raise an error, it will be you can't subtract one string from another. Either way, see you next time. So that's what the finally statement does. That's basically the main concept of try and except. And now let me show you one example of how it can be used. So let me go ahead and comment all of these since I don't want to delete them. We might need these for reference, right? So give me a sec here. All right, we've commented everything, and now let's let me give you an example of how we can use this. Let's say you want to know if here, let's define a variable called x. Actually, this is not a good habit. Let's actually name it something so we know what it is. Num equals to x. Num stands for number. We want to know if num is a string. Look, we know that it's an integer, but let's say the user doesn't know that, and they want to know if the number is if the variable num is an integer or string. And how can we figure that out? When I first tried to solve this problem, I thought, I know, if we do print num plus 1, and that way if it's an integer, then an integer plus an integer is an integer. So if it gives like 2, then or if it gives like num plus 1, then and if it gives us an integer, then we know that the num was originally an integer, right? If num is added to the integer 1, if the integer 1 is added to the integer 1, then we're gonna get the integer 2. So that way we can know. But what if it's a string? What if it is this? Then what is it gonna do? So hold on. First, let me run the old version. 2. It gives us 2, right? Because an integer plus an integer is an integer. And now if we do a string plus a string 1 plus an integer 1, it gives us an error, a type error again. Can only concatenate string, not integer to string. So strings can only be added to strings. Integers can't be added to strings. That's basically what it's trying to say. So like it's like Python is giving us an error and we're catching it. Before Python, it's like you throw a ball and if Python catches the ball, then it gives us an error. But if we catch the ball before, then we can handle the error our way. Basically, that's an analogy. And so I was like wondering for a long time, how can I do this? Maybe I know I can maybe do num plus 1. That way it will give us the string 1 plus the string 1, which is 11, because when you combine those two strings, you get 1 and 1. So it makes that 11. But again, what if we make it 1? Then it's gonna give us an error again, because we can't just as we can't add as a string to an integer, we can't add an integer to a string either. And that way it's like a paradox. There's really no way to just do it, to just make sure that that we know if it's a number, like an integer or a string, unless we use try and except. So we can do okay, so let me keep that. Yeah, okay. And now let's make a try. Let's make a try. Put an indent. Don't forget that. And actually, let me put this behind the try. And so we know that num is Python knows that num is 1. We need to know if it's an integer or not. Print num plus 1. If it's an integer, then it'll give us 2, right? And if it's not an integer, then it's gonna give us an error, unless we catch the error before Python does. Except except means if it doesn't. So don't like the word. It's not like the word except. It's similar to that, but what it really means is if we get an error. And so now we know that it's a string, maybe. Like let's say we're just assuming if it's that it's either an integer or a string, not like a boolean or a float or anything. But or we could just print not an integer. Okay, we can just do that. Or we can also print we can go ahead and see if it's a string, and by doing that we can do num plus 1. So if it's a string, then it's gonna give us 11, like 1 1, not 11, but like 1 next to 1, right? So let's print that. So it's 2. So basically it didn't even need to give us an error. So this except thing is pretty much useless, right? Because when we tried, whatever goes into try, it'll either give us an error or it won't. If it does give us an error, then the except thing whatever's under except gets into action. Otherwise, whatever's under try happens, right? If it doesn't give us an error, then it's just as normal, okay? It's just gonna go as normal. But what if we make this a string? So when we add the integer 1 to the string 1, it's gonna give us, it would give us an error, but we made an except, so now it gives us 11. We know 2 plus 2 is not 11 according to math, so, but it is. 1 plus 1 is 11 according to Python string. So we know that it's a string that way. So that's what I wanted. That's the way to know if it's an integer or not. And that was all I wanted to show you in this video. It's a really useful method. whenever you come across, whenever you're, because Python errors, they're pretty confusing and like different kind of component of Python. So that's why we need the try, except, and finally methods to sort of handle it. And so yeah, that was it. If you liked the video, don't forget to click that thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you want more videos. See you next time.